So the quote from Ryan Reynolds in this interview is just so absurd. He says that after he talked about how much he really, look up to Hugh Jackman and how amazing he is, he says, "And now that I'm so much bigger than him, I've taken many of those lessons. I've realized that I'm too big to fail at this point, so I just crush my enemies and drink their."
Judge Lyman has a brother named Doug, who coincidentally is in the entertainment industry. Doug owns a company called Hypnotic that has ties to Universal Studios, and eventually moved over to Entertainment One. Well, Entertainment One was bought by Lionsgate. Lionsgate has ties to Ryan Reynolds, and Universal also has ties to Ryan Reynolds. If that's not close enough, Doug directed a commercial that Blake starred in.
There's negligent interference with prospective economic advantage against Blake and Ryan. And there's something called breach of the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing against Blake only. And those claims, are being repled. The judge gave us a roadmap to on how to replete those.
Are you going to get Ryan as well, Ryan Reynolds?
We'll see. Obviously he's defending the case, so of course we're going to notice his deposition.
Justin Baldoni and his legal team just pulled up with some pretty solid receipts to prove that Ryan Reynolds allegedly played shady regarding Justin's lawsuit against Blake. In case y'all missed the insanity that has been going on in the past couple of days, Justin's lawsuit against Blake was thrown out by the judge. However, Justin and his lawyers are calling BS on this, asking for the case to be assigned to a different judge because the original judge has allegedly been bought out. Oh, and just when you thought this couldn't get any messier, Justin just announced that he is filing another bigger lawsuit against Ryan. We're talking wild claims about bribery, bullying, interfering with the legal process, and a whole lot of other stuff. This drama is about to get 10 times worse, so let's break it down. It's kind of crazy how this drama has evolved from being a disagreement on a movie set to one of the biggest and messiest scandals in a long time. Both sides filed lawsuits, and while Justin seems to have more public support than Blake, it's still a messy situation, and neither one of them exactly looks good. It's a he said, she said situation, but everyone seemed to believe that Justin would win. After all, his case seemed solid, and he brought receipts to back up his claims about how Blake was supposedly a horrible person. Multiple people also came forward with the same claim about how Blake was a horrible person on set and would deliberately go out of her way to make things difficult. I mean, Blake herself even revealed during an interview that she deliberately misrepresents herself during castings to get a role. And once the contract had been signed, she would suddenly switch up on the producers and directors. She would deliberately sabotage production so that she could get her way, even though she knew that it would make things difficult for everyone else.
Important to say, okay, I believe in this, and that's why I'm standing up for it, and that's why I'm not being difficult. And then there are other moments to go like, am I in the room? Like, what is happening here? I would show up on a set. I knew that they just wanted me to show up and look cute and stand on a little pink sticker where I'm supposed to go and say what I'm supposed to say. But I also knew that that wasn't fulfilling for me, that I wanted to be a part of the storytelling, that I wanted to be a part of the narrative, whether that be in the writing, in the costume design, in creating the character. And sometimes I had directors or producers or writers who would welcome that and invite that once they saw that I was able to offer that. And sometimes I would have people who really resented that because they were like, we just hired you to be an actor. Yet when I went in the meetings, I would just seem like I'm just there to be the actor and ready to get the gig. I wouldn't reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled. So I think that for them, sometimes that might have felt like a rug pull because you're like, you're trying to assert yourself into something that we didn't hire you to do. And so it was a really strange position to be in because I felt like I don't want to just
This kind of sounds like what led to her beef with Justin Baldoni in the first place. She stepped on his toes, went over his head to do his job, and then, when the drama was blowing up, she filed a complaint against him. Now, I'm not blaming her here, but the odds were stacked against her from the very start, and everyone thought that it was going to be an easy win for Justin. So imagine how shocked we were when the judge presiding over the case suddenly threw Justin's case out of court. According to reports, on June 9th, Judge Louis J. Lyman granted motions to dismiss Baldoni's countersuit against Lively 37, her husband Ryan Reynolds, and their publicist, which alleged extortion and defamation, as well as his $250 million libel lawsuit against the New York Times. The judge noted that Baldoni's legal team can still amend the claims for breach of implied covenant and tortious interference with contract, with a deadline of June 23rd. So while it's not exactly an outright dismissal, it still sucks for Justin and his team. Blake released a statement celebrating the win on Instagram. team. She wrote, "Last week, I stood proudly alongside 19 organizations united in defending women's rights to speak up for their safety. Like so many others, I've felt the pain of a retaliatory lawsuit, including the manufactured shame that tries to break us. While the suit against me was defeated, so many don't have the resources to fight back. I'm more resolved than ever to continue to stand for every woman's right to have a voice in protecting themselves, including their safety, their integrity, their dignity, and their story. There are protections out there. Check out some of the incredible organizations below for resources and information. With love and gratitude for the many who stood by me, many of you I know, many of you I don't, but I will never stop appreciating or advocating for you." However, Justin and his team aren't backing down yet because they are getting ready to fight back. In a statement, his lawyer, Brian Friedman, claimed that Blake and her team's predictable declaration of victory is false. He said, "This case is about false accusations of and retaliation, and a non-existent smear campaign, which Ms. Lively's own team conveniently describes as untraceable because they cannot prove what never happened. Most importantly, Ms. Lively's own claims are no truer today than they were yesterday, and with the facts on our side, we march forward with the same confidence that we had when Ms. Lively and her cohorts initiated this battle and look forward to her forthcoming deposition, which I will be taking. However, before we move on, we need to establish the reason the case was thrown out. The case wasn't thrown out because the judge thought Justin was lying or had no legal standing. The real reason for the dismissal was a legal technicality that was passed after the Me Too movement that rocked Hollywood a couple of years ago. As a result of this technicality, Blake's allegations are legally protected and can't be used as grounds for a defamation claim. But like I said, his lawyers are not giving up. In fact, Brian Friedman went on an interview and revealed that the team is planning an entire legal warfare against Blake, and this time they are naming Ryan as a defendant rather than just a person of interest.
There's negligent interference with prospective economic advantage against Blake and Ryan, and there's something called breach of the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing against Blake only. And those claims, are being repled. The judge gave us a roadmap on how to replete those.
Are you going to get Ryan as well, Ryan Reynolds?
We'll see. I mean, obviously he's defending the case, so of course we're going to notice his deposition.
If you think this has been a roller coaster, just wait for what happens next. Justin just pulled up with receipts to prove that the judge, Judge Lyman, is reportedly biased toward him. He's claiming that the reason the judge suddenly switched up on him and dismissed his case on a technicality is that Ryan allegedly paid $1 million bribe. This is wild, but think about it. If the case had gone to trial and Justin had won, Ryan and Blake would have had to pay $250 million. Now, I know they both have a lot of money, but I don't think they casually have $250 million just lying around, which is why it was a lot cheaper to just pay the judge off once and for all. If you're wondering how on earth they managed to convince a sitting judge to take a bribe, well, this is where the story gets wilder. See, Judge Lyman's brother is best friends with Salma Hayek's billionaire husband, Francois-Henri Pinault. Salma Hayek is also very good friends with Blake, and y'all want to guess who Blake had dinner with a couple of days before the case was thrown out? Salma, that's who. Fans are adding 2 and 2 together, and the math is starting to math. But wait, there's more, because that's not the only connection that the judge has to Blake and Ryan. It turns out that the good judge's brother has also directed a political campaign featuring none other than Blake herself.
Judge Lyman has a brother named Doug, who coincidentally is in the entertainment industry. Doug owns a company called Hypnotic that has ties to Universal Studios, and eventually moved over to Entertainment One. Well, Entertainment One was bought by Lionsgate. Lionsgate has ties to Ryan Reynolds, and Universal also has ties to Ryan Reynolds. If that's not close enough, Doug directed a commercial that Blake starred in. Take a look.
If you're ever out somewhere and you're considering voting McCain, just call me and I'll pick you up.
Doug also has ties to a VR company, Invisible. Invisible has investments directly from Disney. The cherry on top is Christoph Beck, a composer that has worked on 4 films of Doug's. He also composed multiple episodes of a show called George and Leo. 2 of those episodes that he composed actually starred Robin Lively, these 2 episodes. He has also worked heavily with Disney, Marvel, and 20th Century. Some of his most well-known work is from Frozen. Christoph also composed for a movie called The Guilt Trip that was directed by Anne Fletcher, the same director for The Proposal that is owned by Disney and starred Ryan Reynolds. That one. Last but not least, he has heavy ties with Sean Levy, working with him on multiple films and TV pilots, one of the films starring Ryan Reynolds. All this to say, Judge Lyman needs to recuse himself, and I don't know why he hasn't done so already.
Fans and legal experts are now pointing out that the judge should have removed himself from the case because of a clear conflict of interest, but I guess we now know why he didn't. Well, like I said, Ryan's legal team has sprung into action, and in addition to their new lawsuit against Ryan, there are reports that they are also trying to prove that the judge was allegedly bribed and was working against them. If this happens, then Justin's original lawsuit might be restored, but that won't stop this new lawsuit, especially because Justin is determined to show that Ryan relentlessly bullied him. Remember when Ryan bragged about how he always wins over his enemies no matter what? He said, "And now that I'm so much bigger than him, I've taken many of those lessons. I've realized that I'm too big to fail at this point, so I just crush my enemies and drink their." The crazy thing is that it wasn't even the first time that Ryan went out of his way to get under Justin's skin. He has pulled stunts like this more than once since everything blew up. Take that SNL situation, for example. Tina Fey and Amy Poehler were hosting and opened the floor for audience participation. About an hour in, Ryan eagerly raised his hand like a kid in class, but instead of saying something harmless, he cracked a joke that was clearly aimed at Justin.
I have a question.
Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds.
Hi.
Hey. Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
At first, Ryan tried to play it off, saying the joke wasn't even his and that it was something the SNL writers came up with. But the folks at Saturday Night Live weren't having it. After seeing how fast Disney got pulled into Justin's original lawsuit, they clearly weren't trying to end up in the same boat. The producers wasted no time distancing themselves, shutting down the rumor quickly and making it known that the joke did not come from them. After the episode aired, longtime SNL cue card handler Wally Forreston, better known as Cue Card Wally, stopped by the Australian radio show Fifi, Fev, and Nick to spill some behind-the-scenes tea. Things started off lighthearted with Wally sharing fun stories from his time on set, but it didn't take long before one of the hosts cut to the chase and asked what everyone had been wondering. Was Ryan Reynolds' joke actually written into the script, or did he just decide to go rogue and say it on his own? Wally didn't hold back. His response made it pretty clear that this wasn't some last-minute slip or off-the-cuff comment. Ryan had planned the joke ahead of time, which means he had plenty of chances to change his mind, tone it down, or drop it altogether, but he didn't. He went through with it, fully knowing the kind of reaction it would get, and honestly, that just makes the whole thing even messier. It's one thing to say something in the heat of the moment and regret it afterward, but this wasn't like that at all. This was planned. Ryan had time to think it over, run through rehearsals, and still chose to go ahead with the joke. That wasn't a slip-up, it was a decision. And to be honest, it only made him look worse. It left people wondering what he was really trying to do. Was it just a petty dig, or was there something deeper going on? Either way, it didn't sit right with a lot of people, and plenty of them were giving him the side eye. To make things worse, this didn't happen at some casual event. It was the SNL 50th anniversary special. A huge moment packed with big-name celebrities and millions of people watching. Ryan knew exactly what kind of stage he was on when he made that joke, and even with everything going on legally, he still went through with it. Honestly, that says a lot. But hold up, that wasn't the last time Ryan took a shot at Justin. He actually slipped in another shady moment at the end of Deadpool vs. Wolverine. Like, who goes out of their way to sneak a diss into a Disney movie? Clearly, Ryan was still heated about the lawsuit. Justin caught the shade right away and wasn't about to ignore it. He said the character Nice Pool, who just so happened to appear at the end of the movie, was clearly meant to mock him. And instead of just coming for Ryan, he went all in and dragged Marvel and Disney into the lawsuit too. According to reports, Brian Friedman sent a legal letter to Marvel boss Kevin Feige and Disney CEO Bob Iger, accusing Reynolds of taking direct aim during the segment. In the scene where Reynolds plays a Deadpool variant, Nice Pool, he says, "Where in the God's name is the intimacy coordinator?" To top it off, he praises Lady Deadpool for snapping back after having a baby while remarking feminism. Baldoni reportedly believes it was a meticulous swipe at him for touting himself as a feminist during It Ends. With us promotions, Friedman's letter demands Disney and Marvel keep all documents relating to or reflecting a deliberate attempt to mock, ridicule, intimidate, or bully Baldoni through the character of Nice Pool. Oh, it also hints at potential legal claims like interference with contracts and civil extortion. An insider also commented on this, saying, Baldoni's legal team is now going to try and do a deep dive into Deadpool and the funding for the film, as well as the actors and producers who were aware of this bullying when filming. They said the fact Reynolds has not disputed the claim that Nice Pool was based on Baldoni had opened up the scope of how Baldoni's lawyers may attempt to prove that their client had been under a coordinated attack. Being Ryan admitted that the nice pool character in Deadpool was based on Justin, he not only dragged Hugh Jackman into the forefront and the directors and producers of the film, but also Disney. It was at this point that Ryan realized just how badly he had messed up, because he then tried to get himself taken off the case. According to reports, in his recent legal request, Reynolds described himself as a supportive spouse who has witnessed firsthand the emotional, reputational, and financial devastation Lively endured. An insider went on to say that Ryan also claimed Baldoni was attempting to shame him for being the kind of man who is confident enough to listen to the woman in his life and stand with her. That clearly didn't work out, but the next thing we knew, Justin's entire case was thrown out. Yeah, that's suspicious, but again, when you factor in Justin's bribery claims, the math starts to add up. And just to make it extra clear that they're coming after Ryan, Justin's lawyer released a statement saying, Mr. Reynolds' exploitation of his enormous power in Hollywood continues, this time arrogantly asking to be dismissed from the case despite his publicly documented involvement extending far beyond just being a supportive spouse. Mr. Reynolds was a key player in the scheme, defaming Justin around Hollywood, strong-arming WME into dropping Justin as a client, and trying to destroy Justin's career however possible. His fingerprints have been all over this smear campaign against Justin since day one. Mr. Reynolds now attempts to reduce plainly cognizable claims to hurt feelings, sending a clear message that bullying is acceptable. After lighting a match, Mr. Reynolds now seeks to run from the flames. It won't work. The claims against him are real and they are serious. Yeah, Ryan might want to keep a lawyer on speed dial because Justin is coming for him and he is coming back with receipts. Yeah, it looks like Justin is not going down as easily as Ryan thought, and something tells me that we are going to see more messy showdowns between these two before this case is done. But in the meantime, I want to know how y'all feel about Justin's bribery claims, so drop your thoughts in the comments, and then check out this next video.